So we're going to go through what's called a pancake stretch. It's basically a position that stretches out the hamstring and low back region. The setup with the feet is like this, so we're just splaying the feet. We also want to try and straighten the lower back. So we're trying to avoid this sort of setup. If you can't sit in this position comfortably and straighten that lower back, we can kind of get around it by increasing the distance between our butt and the floor, and you can come up quite high if you need to. You can also bend it at the knees, and that'll take some of the strain out of the hamstring. Also, if you are bending at the knees, it can be quite useful just placing some support under the back of that knee. So once you find an appropriate setup for you, where we're nice and straight through the lower back, we're gonna lean forward slightly, okay, until we feel a little bit of a stretch through the hamstrings. And then from here, we're just going to be shifting side to side. We can use our hands to sort of support the upper body. And in the beginning, you can use quite a lot of support. With some practice, we can say come up onto the fingertips, which will give ourselves less support and hence put more load into the tissue that we're stretching. And eventually we can kind of just take that support away. So we're shifting from side to side with the full load of our upper body through those posterior regions. And as we sweep, you might feel things breaking up a little bit, so we'll move a little bit deeper. Also, with practice over the course of a few weeks, you'll be moving closer and closer to the ground. You can also tweak this position a little bit by adding a rotation from here. And when I do that rotation, I'm sweeping across to one leg. I'm trying to get my elbow placed on the inside of my leg, and I'm using that as like a point of leverage to open the upper body through that rotation. So I do the rotation, I sweep, I can use finger support or hands away, then I open here, then I come back. Okay, and we're just moving nice and slow. We can even extend the arm, bring it back, sweeping, rotating, extending the arm. And once you've had a fair bit of practice with this position, we can be sweeping closer towards the ground, still doing that rotation at each point, but coming nice and low. And then at that point, we can increase the intensity on the tissue that we're stretching by sweeping the arms out in front. Boom. And I rotate. Boom. 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 So a very scalable exercise. So just find a variation that's appropriate to you, and and just work at accumulating some time in this position. Like the hip flexor stretch, it's not something where you're doing like 30 seconds in a minute. It's more something you want to be doing off of feel. So maybe we spend a couple of minutes in this position, maybe it's 10 or 15. You just want to pay attention to all of the sensation in those regions, the hamstring and the lower back, and we're trying to identify where those tight lines are. So if we move over to one side and recognize that this leg, this hamstring is much tighter than the other side, then that's an indication to be spending a bit more time and attention on that region. So yeah, just lots of awareness as we're moving through this position will yield the best return. So yeah, that's the an entry to the pancake stretch.